Giving is brought to you by ExxonMobil.
Hi, I'm Lisa Shields. Welcome to Giving. We continue our exploration of creative philanthropy with a look today at 3 different people who are using their creativity and passion to solve urgent problems. I'm joined today by Trevor Nielsen of the Global Philanthropy Group. He's worked with many of the people that we're going to look at today. The first piece is on Dr. Dean Ornish. Trevor, what can you tell us about Dean and his work?
You know, Dean has revolutionized the way we look at the intersection of lifestyle, our nutrition, and the way our bodies develop, the way our genes express themselves, and who we become.
Let's take a look.
I'm Dean Ornish. I'm an internist by training. And for the last 31 years, I've directed a series of studies demonstrating for the first time that the simple choices that we make in our lives each day, like what we eat, how we respond to stress, how much exercise we get, whether or not we smoke, and the quality of the love and social support relationships that we have, that these simple choices can make such a powerful difference in our health and our well-being and even in our survival, and that these mechanisms are much more dynamic than people had once realized. You know, we often think it has to be a new drug or a new laser or something really high-tech and expensive to be powerful. And what we've been able to do in our studies is to use the very latest in high-tech, state-of-the-art medical technologies to prove how powerful these very simple and low-tech and low-cost interventions can be. So we began with heart disease, and we were able to show for the first time in a scientific way that even severe heart disease can actually begin to reverse when people make much bigger changes in diet and lifestyle than had previously been recommended. After just a few weeks, we found that the blood flow to the heart got measurably better, that the chest pain went away in most people, and that people not only felt better, but they were better in ways we could actually measure. And so in a series of studies with increasing rigor, published in the leading journals, we were able to show to most people's satisfaction that what was once thought impossible actually was possible. And in fact, everything we've done for the last 30 years was thought to be impossible when we first began it. That's what makes it fun, is we're redefining and giving people new hope and new choices that they didn't have before by showing them that these choices that they make each day can have such a dynamic impact on their health and well-being. You know, within just a few months, your brain gets more blood flow, you think more clearly, you have more energy, your brain can grow so many new neurons that your brain can get measurably bigger in just a few months. That was thought impossible just a few years ago. Your skin gets more blood so you don't age as quickly. Your heart gets more blood flow, you can reverse heart disease. Even your sexual organs get more blood flow in the same way that Viagra works. And so when we make these changes, most people find that they feel so much better so quickly. It reframes the reason for making them from fear of dying, which is too scary, to joy of living, which is really what makes it sustainable. And our newest studies are showing that even on a genetic level, that when you change your lifestyle, it actually changes your genes. In effect, upregulating or turning on the disease-preventing genes and downregulating or turning off the disease-promoting genes, the genes that predispose you to heart disease and breast cancer and prostate cancer and diabetes and inflammation and oxidative stress and so on. And you know, so often people say things to me like, oh, you know, it's all in my genes. I've got bad genes. There's not much I can do. It turns out you can do a lot. Before I became a doctor, I was a photographer. That was my passion, and in many ways it still is. When I was 12, I worked as an apprentice for the leading portrait photographer in Dallas, and after doing that for a couple of years, he sold me a lot of his equipment, and I opened my own portrait studio from the age of 14 and learned how to make people look better than they are by manipulating lighting and retouching and posing and so on. But I also got interested in the other end of that spectrum, which is I began studying in college with a well-known photographer named Gary Winogrand, amazing guy who would just go out with a little Leica and would just try to show things as they are, not to manipulate them. And he'd put a picture up on the wall and say, what do you see? And people would say, well, I see this, this. Well, how do you know someone doesn't have a gun right outside the frame pointing at someone? Or how do you know? And get us to challenge our assumptions. And I began to realize that great art is about being able to see the world through new eyes and then be able to bring other people into that vision. Great science is the same way. Disruptive technologies are that way, as opposed to incremental change. And so my task has always been to try to see through new eyes, to not get stuck in a particular way of looking at the world. really all of our work is about transformation. People tend to think of my work as mainly being about diet, and what we eat is important, but it's only part of it. It's really about helping people use the experience of suffering as a doorway or as a catalyst for transforming their lives. I can't tell you how many patients have said to me things like, Dean, having a heart attack was the best thing that ever happened to me. And you go, what are you, crazy? They said, no, that's what it took to get my attention to begin making these changes that have made such a powerful difference in my life. And I may not have ever done them before that. Well, one of the reasons we're doing this interview today is, to me, awareness is always the first step in healing. And if we can help people become more aware of how powerful these simple choices that we make in our lives each day are, then we don't have to wait for a heart attack to begin making them. We can connect the dots between what we do and how we feel, and what we do and how we look. And then we can come from a place of abundance rather than a place of fear.
Later, we're going to see a piece about Shakira. Up next, however, we'll meet the grandson of 4 Holocaust survivors who's dedicating his life to ending genocide.
Giving is brought to you by ExxonMobil.
Malaria is the #1 killer of infants in Africa. ExxonMobil has many employees in Africa where malaria has touched their own lives, their own families. We're a part of a pioneering venture to get bed nets hung in every dwelling and medicines to babies and young children, which should save hundreds of thousands of lives. This is not going to be solved by single doctors, governments, or global agencies. It's going to be solved by all of us working together.
Your name doesn't need to be Bono, Branson, Gates, or Mandela. It doesn't matter what issue you're most passionate about. You can decide today to change the world. Global Philanthropy Group, advising the world's leading philanthropists.
Welcome back to Giving on Plum TV. I'm Lisa Shields. I'm joined by Trevor Nielsen of the Global Philanthropy Group, and we're looking at people who use a creative approach to solving big problems. We're going to show you a piece today about a man who took the phrase "never again" literally. Trevor, you worked with Mark Hannes. What about the Genocide Intervention Network impressed you?
Over 500,000 people have died in Darfur, and millions more have been displaced. And Mark was a college student at Swarthmore and decided that he had to do something about it.
Let's have a look.
My name is Mark Hannes, and I'm the founder and executive director of the Genocide Intervention Network. I'm passionate about stopping genocide because 4 of my grandparents are Holocaust survivors. I grew up in Ecuador for 18 years, belonged to the one synagogue in the country, and heard from the elders, many of whom had the numbers tattooed on their arms, of 2 critical lessons. 1, never forget what happened during the Holocaust, where the world stood by as 6 million Jews and 5 million others were systematically exterminated. And 2, and is equally important, never let it happen again. Doesn't matter if you're Jewish, Scottish, Ecuadorian, never allow people to be targeted for who they are. So I grew up hearing about this, and so when I came to the United States and heard about Darfur, I refused to be a bystander. Our mission is to empower people with the tools to prevent and stop genocide. We focus on 3 main tools. That's educate, advocate, and donate. So education, we raise awareness, so no one can ever say that they didn't take action because they didn't know about it. The second one is advocate, and that is where we get people to pressure their public officials in Congress or the executive to do more than talk about never again. And the third part is donate. That's where we fundraise to fund specific projects on the ground to protect people. One of our protection projects is to provide protection to women and children who leave refugee camps to go and collect firewood. Oftentimes when these women and children leave the camps to collect firewood to cook their food, they're often gang raped by the Janjaweed militia. And so they have to face the Sophie's choice of stay inside the camp and starve to death, or leave the camp but likely be attacked. And so we do coordination with the peacekeepers to go into the camps and organize the women and children so that there's a specific day, time, and exit where there's a group of them, and then there's peacekeepers who will accompany them to go and collect the firewood and return back safely. So they're called firewood patrols.
So how are the meetings going with Congressman for us to get the meeting?
It's going well. It's going well. We're still working.
I was in my college cafeteria my senior year with some friends, and we were reading the New York Times, and we read an article about Darfur and how the United States government, first time ever in history, has declared a crisis of genocide. And this had a huge impact on me because of my background, but also hearing about Hotel Rwanda, watching it and seeing how there was a myth that if Americans learn about genocide that they'll take action, which is totally not true. So my classmates and I were committed to finding ways that average citizens like us, average students in the United States, could help stop the first genocide of the 21st century. So once we started learning about how the real issue was political will, that's when we started focusing on that and how to protect people. I think the reason for why I've really focused on working as a citizen via a non-governmental organization is the fact that with technology in a globalized world, individuals are becoming super empowered. We talk about oftentimes super empowered individuals causing harm, whether it's Al-Qaeda or other terrorists using the internet or other technology to hurt people. I think we're in a new wave where individuals via technology and other easy means can create huge positive change. We're finding ways that civil society is being able to spur as much social change as governments are, in fact possibly more, by going on a global grassroots campaign. So I think there was a unique moment of opportunity when Darfur happened and when we were thinking what we can do about it. And technology played a huge role in this. And that was from raising awareness, where we could use YouTube videos and Facebook and email and MySpace to tell people what was going on in Darfur and not have to raise all the money for TV ads or ads on the radio or newspaper. And at the same time, we could use technology to mobilize people to take action. Another tool that we've created is a congressional scorecard where we've graded every member of Congress on what they've done in response to Darfur. How have they voted? How have they co-sponsored? Have they been to Darfur? Have they held a town hall meeting in their own district or state on Darfur? And gave them a letter grade A through F so that their constituents can hold them accountable, where the rhetoric is not enough. They need to see the action. And so we came out with these grades, and it was unbelievable, the response, where students and non-students, business leaders, faith leaders, Holocaust survivors, or other survivors of other genocides flooded their members of Congress, demanding that they should earn nothing less than an A+. And members of Congress, not their secretaries, not their staffers, were calling our office saying, "I'm getting slammed by my constituents. What can I do to get a better grade?" Or another member of Congress said, "I just voted for these 2 bills. Can you please update my grade from a D- to a B+, so at least I can tell my constituents that I'm passing?" So we've seen a huge response where 66 members in the House have gone from failing to passing grades, or 39 senators have gone from failing to passing grades because people say, just talking about it's not good enough. I actually want to see what your record is on stopping genocide. I think the most important thing for people to spur change is to realize that they have the potential to spur change. I think people don't recognize that here in the United States or wherever, people can be Oscar Schindlers. People can be the Paul Rusesabagina. You don't have to have a PhD. You don't have to be an expert on this. You don't have to go to the area that you're trying to cause social change. We have a huge opportunity via the website, via our access here in the United States of the world's most powerful democracy, to get our governments and get our neighbors to help end conflicts like the one in Darfur.
When we come back, we'll see how Shakira is using education to fight childhood poverty.
Giving is brought to you by ExxonMobil.
There aren't nearly enough kids interested in math and science. There are great opportunities out there and some huge problems we need to solve. That's why ExxonMobil supports programs that help teach teachers and get thousands of kids excited about math and science early on. I'm actually a science ambassador with a local school. I've just had a chance to see so many kids who have it in them to be the next great scientists to help us solve some of these really difficult problems we face.
Your name doesn't need to be Bono, Branson, Gates, or Mandela. It doesn't matter what issue you're most passionate about. You can decide today to change the world. Global Philanthropy Group, advising the world's leading philanthropists.
Giving is brought to you by ExxonMobil.
Welcome back to Giving on Plum TV. I'm Lisa Shields. On this show, we look at creative philanthropy. And I'm joined today by Trevor Nielsen of the Global Philanthropy Group. Trevor, Shakira is taking on childhood poverty. It's no easy task. Tell us what's unique about her approach.
I recently returned from Colombia with Shakira, where I saw her barefoot schools in action. She's developed a low-cost, high-impact model for education that is now going beyond Colombia to children in other parts of the world.
Let's have a look.
Coming from an underdeveloped country, you have to give back. And that a way to give back, she had it very sure since very early childhood, was to help children. That a child that is not helped will never be equal to a child that had assistance, food, nutrition, good education. So inequality began so very early, and Shakira decided to fight out.
Majestades, presidentes, presidentas, estamos aquí para plantearles la creación de una gran alianza entre el sector público y la sociedad civil para proteger a los seres más frágiles de nuestra región, los niños.
We have a conflict of displacement of such large proportions, 3 million IDPs, of which 800,000 are younger than 18. So she decided to focalize there. That is nutrition, that is good education, that is psychological support. And then we said, how do we make it sustainable when a mama or a father of these kids, if they have a family, earns less than $1.5 a day? So we decided, let's get together and let's try to involve the mothers.
That's the kitchen in our school, and the mothers of the children, most of the mothers that we've been meeting with, they work here and they receive a salary. So this school also generates income for all these heads of family and mothers who've been displaced due to the violence.
That is how we molded the model, the Pies Descalzos model, something that begins with a very early childhood development and ends with the father, the mother. That is why we invest so much in good infrastructure. Shakira has made a personal effort. Over $5 million of her own resources have gone to infrastructures, and that is how the school becomes the center of life for a community that may not have, they don't have a bathroom, they don't have running water, they don't have electricity. There is still a tiny electricity from the municipality. So the School of Open Doors is our methodology in which, like, a family, a community, a neighborhood, a city can transform, and you have good citizens and maybe less children going to delinquency or to drug trafficking or to guerrilla movements.
Casey Dayana and Judamari. They both study in our school, and their mother, she was displaced a few years ago in 1996, displaced by the conflict and the internal war and the guerrillas. Basically, she had to run away with her 2 daughters, and they established here, and now they go to the Pies Descalzos school, and she's studying as well. She's trying to finish her high school.
The school has to be like the place you want to go. It's better than home. You find all the tools you need. You can play, you can go to the library, you can use the tools of information or digital information. And that has helped us improve the quality according to the public state standards to a very high level. Indeed, that has given us already 28 of our students are high degree and have been able to enter the best universities in Colombia.
Una cosa, que cada día que vienen a la escuela yo estoy pensando en ustedes, estoy pensando en que están felices y eso me hace muy feliz, saber que están estudiando, que están aprendiendo y que quieren ser personas de bien en la vida, ¿sí? Eso es lo único que yo quiero, ese es mi más grande regalo, ¿sí? Que algún día se gradúen de la escuela y que vayan a la universidad y que estudien una carrera y que les sirvan a la sociedad, ¿sí? Eso es lo que más me haría feliz a mí en la vida.
Being in the field makes you cry once in a while, and that I think is healthy because it is a cry out of saying this cannot happen and we have to change the history of our country and inspire others.
You know, Lisa, Shakira's work is so amazing, and what I think that she's realized is that something that previously people thought could not be done can be done. And with that premise, she's taking this approach to education all around the world.
Well, Trevor, we've just seen pieces about 3 different people who could have simply written a check to an organization. Yeah. I mean, is there a common thread that you're seeing in this kind of philanthropy?
You know, I think the thing that ties all of them together is that they have immersed themselves in these issues. These issues are not something that they think about at the end of the year and write a little check and then forget about until the following December. This is a core part of these people's lives, and it's something that they'll probably be very happy that they were a part of.
Trevor, thanks so much for joining us today.
Sure.
And thanks for watching Plum TV. I'm Lisa Shields.
Giving is brought to you by ExxonMobil.